Test runs on samples of birds from 2 farms in Achimota and Tema turn out positive for avian influenza H5N1, most commonly called bird flu. The Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research received the 2 samples 2 weeks ago from veterinary services. At the time, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture said it was not certain of the strain of bird flu. The H5N1 strain of bird flu is transmitted from bird to bird only. Should residents of Achimota and Tema and Accra generally be alarmed? This is today's big story with me, Stephen Enti. This finally confirmed that birds from 2 farms in Tema and Achimota have tested positive for bird flu. But the good news is that the H5N1 strain of the virus is only transmitted from bird to bird. Research fellow at the Department of Virology at Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, Dr. Kofi Odum, says there is no cause for alarm, but is quick to add that those who handled the birds must also be tested, as bird flu can be transmitted to humans. Right, we'll be bringing you back the interview of Dr. Kofi Odum, who is a research fellow of the Department of Virology, the Noguchi Memorial Institute. We apologize for the mix-up there. So let's quickly get onto the telephone lines now and speak to Mr. Victor Opong-Eje, who is chairman of the Poultry Farmers Association of Ghana. Mr. Opong-Eje, good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Now, I know that there been bird flu detected in Achimota and Tema areas. Now, I also know that we've been cautioned to stay calm, as this strain of influenza is not transmitted from bird to humans. But I am concerned about the implication this could have on local poultry business. Now, as chairman, what can you tell us? Are you worried?
No, we are not very much worried, because we know some time ago we had this bird flu in Ghana, but the way the veterinary services handled it, it couldn't spread far. So we are very sure that this time around too, we are going to handle it perfectly for us. We are just putting measures in place so that we can avoid the spreading of it. So we are going to advise our farmers to put in biosecurity measures and prevent people from entering the farms, so that they don't bring any other diseases to their farms. But we are not worried as such.
Right. I mean, critically for us, we will be taking precautions. I know that you have told us that the technical bit of this infection should be dealt with by the veterinary services. But as a farmer, what measures have you put in place to ensure that you are able to quarantine your birds which are healthy and separate them from the birds which are not healthy, or which you suspect might have been infected?
Well, actually, we are not having that problem. But normally what we do is, if we had any mortality, we take that bird to the veterinary for postmortem. But we try as much as possible to prevent people from entering the farm. And we use we are increasing much of our biosecurity system. We are using much of disinfectants, so that anyone who will be coming to the farm has to step in the water with disinfectant, so that if he's bringing any disease from outside, that one will be cared for. We are not allowing many people in the farm. Those who have no business in the farm are not allowed in the farm. And I think with these measures, we can take control of the disease from spreading.
And we also have reports that the veterinary services have already destroyed about 23,000 birds. How many of your members have been affected?
Oh, none of our members have been affected so far. I'm in Kumasi now. But I think it's only the farms in Accra, Achimota and Tema, as I heard, that are affected. And normally when it happens like that, all the birds must be destroyed and quarantined. And nobody will be allowed to go there or come out. And they have to disinfect the farm professionally to prevent any spread. But so far, we've not heard of any farm that has been affected again, apart from the one in Accra.
Right, Ms. Opong, we know that critically, I mean, a farmer like you who is experienced and who is educated can easily assimilate advice that you get from the veterinary services. But for many of your members who are less educated, what measures are you putting in place to ensure that the education about prevention and the education about the early detection of symptoms of bird flu from these birds get down well with majority of your members?
Yeah, actually, I talked to the veterinary director here, and we discussed to have an emergency meeting with the other farmers so that we will show them how to go about the whole thing. As I said, they have to intensify their biosecurity and also prevent people from coming there. But we are going to have a meeting with them so that we educate them how to go about the whole thing. But seriously, every bird that dies at the farm must be taken to the veterinary for postmortem to find exactly what happened to the bird. And I think with this, is the measures that we are putting in place.
Yeah, we're listening, sir. With the measures you're putting in place, what's the expectation?
Our expectation is to prevent any spread of any disease, not only the bird flu. We have other diseases too, like the Newcastle, which is also disturbing farmers. So if we put all these things in place, I think it will help you. It will help us to prevent any disease from happening in the farms.
Right. So earlier when I was speaking to you, I made mention of the fact that we have information that the veterinary services has destroyed over 23,000 birds, I mean, over a period.
Exactly.
And I'm asking, I want to understand from you, is this something that you are in support of? Like birds who are suspected to be infected should be destroyed?
Yes. Normally that's how it is, because you don't know which of the birds have been affected. So if it is detected in a farm, they have to destroy all the birds there and put in biosecurity measures to avoid any further spread.
Right, Mr. Opong, we will leave it there. We're grateful for your time. Mr. Opong, Victor Opong AJ is the chairman of the Poultry Farmers Association of Ghana in that interview. Now, earlier, our reporter Joseph Opoku Gakpo went on a visit around some farms in Achimota area, and he caught up with some of them. Let's first watch one farmer speak to us about his experience, Ahmed Yusuf.
About the outbreak of bird flu in other parts of the world, Burkina Faso, Canada, the US and elsewhere. As a poultry farmer yourself, for you, is this a source of concern? In fact, the latest news is that we've had some of the outbreak here in Ghana and all the rumors making round.
Well, I think I would say that the constant power outages may be affecting the potency of some of the drugs. Because when you buy it and it's already contaminated, it may not be effective for the birds. Apart from that, I have not experienced that at all. But friends tell me, sometimes you buy the drugs, and when they have been contaminated, they will not be effective. But personally, I have not experienced it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for you as someone who is into poultry, this concern about the outbreak of bird flu, are you worried?
Why not? I should be worried, because I'm having just some 200, 300. But there are farmers who have about 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And if the disease comes and it wipes all this off, that is a hell of money. So I should be concerned. Well, I don't know, maybe one day I'll choose to go into full scale also, and it might also affect me, so I'm concerned.
So it would be fair to say that as a farmer, you are afraid that if care is not taken and this disease is not really brought under control, then your work as well could be affected in terms of your poultry farm.
Yeah, because there's a proverb, when your neighbor's beard is burning, you put water by yours. So I should be concerned. I should genuinely be concerned.
Is there anything you would expect of government in terms of any measures that they could put in place so that as a nation, then we don't have this disease spreading all over and destroying birds across the country?
Okay, yes. I think if they are able to control the supply, because as it is now, I know some other fake chemical sellers might go into it, because when it is short and somebody can, oh, this is better than, then it will certainly be a concern. But if the government were able to control these things, supply of the drugs, and maybe this, the food that I've just talked about, if they are able to give extension services.
Right, our man Joseph Opoku Gakpo has been visiting a number of poultry farms in the Achimota area and joins me now. Joseph, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
So what can you report? You know I live around Achimota, so I'm smiling because I'm thinking in my head, I mean, as a resident in this area, are there precautions that I'm supposed to take to ensure that I protect myself and my family from bird flu?
Well, let me tell you about what the farmers have been telling us. The veterinary officials who've been coming around have been telling them. The advice that they've been giving are in two ways. For you residents, for example, the veterinary services, according to the farmers, have been advising them that when you get the chicken, make sure you boil it well, keep it in a clean environment, and all of that. Those are some of the things that the farmers tell me the veterinary officers have been explaining to them as the precautionary measures that they should be taking.
Simple
hygienic
storage, and etc.
Exactly. That's what the farmers say the veterinary officers have been telling them. And they also explain that for the farmers, the advice that the veterinary officials who've come on have been giving them is that as much as possible, they should restrict the presence of any kind of foreign bird among their birds at the moment, so that for the current
what do you mean foreign bird? Like if you have a stock, you shouldn't go to your friend's farm to bring his or her bird to your farm.
They are being advised that as much as possible within this period, when the confirmation of the disease is out and measures are being taken to control it, they should maintain the current stock that they have and shouldn't go out there to get other stocks in, and then it could raise the possibility of bringing in the disease, and then you may end up infecting your stock. They've also been advised to ensure appropriate hygienic procedures even on the farm, and additionally they are being encouraged as much as possible to restrict the incoming of unauthorized persons. They should ensure that for anyone at all who would want to enter onto the farm, there should be appropriate disinfection of the person's legs and whatever the person may be wearing before then the person comes in. So the farmers say they are taking these measures that they've been advised to take as seriously as possible, so that then they wouldn't fall prey to the outbreak of this particular disease.
Right. I never knew that Achimota area there were poultry farms, you know. So which parts really did you go?
Close to the Niboy
Man, fish pond area. That's
exactly.
New Achimota area.
Exactly, yeah. There, the observation again is that for a lot of these areas, they have their poultry farms in residential structures. So that
in homes.
In homes, you know. So within the house, then they have a very large coop in which then they keep their birds. The farmers we visited, some had 800 plus, some had 1,000 plus.
Oh, that's
birds.
impressive.
Exactly, and some were running them on very small scale, as small as 200. And for a lot of the areas I visited, for example, from the outside, it's a little difficult to determine that this is really a poultry farm. But once you get inside, then you see the necessary structures. But these are persons who say that they belong to various associations. The veterinary services department is aware of the operation to the extent that when they come around on the educational campaigns, then they come to them to teach them some of these practices. And what they tell us is that over the last 1 week to 2 weeks, some of those educational campaigns have really intensified, with the veterinary services coming in frequently to come do the education, you know, for the farmers there. And the understanding that we're getting from government circles, for example, is that this is the result of the activation of a national task force, or they rather call it the National Committee on the Avian Influenza. There's a committee that they set up back in 2009 when the first outbreak happened, and there's a committee which has representatives from NADMO, from the Veterinary Services Department, from the Health Ministry, from the Agric Ministry, and even the Poultry Farmers Association and other allied agencies. So the work of the committee has been reactivated over the last 3 or 4 months since the outbreak was recorded in Burkina Faso and also in Nigeria. And they are the ones who are increasing the educational campaign and working on it so that farmers will be educated on appropriate preventive measures.
Joseph, I'll return to you and we'll continue our conversation. But earlier I did mention that the Noguchi Memorial Institute, we spoke to a virologist there at the Noguchi Center, Dr. Odum, and let's hear that interview and we'll continue with our discussions.
Well, we received samples from the veterinary services. According to them, the samples were from 2 farms and we were to test them for bird flu. We ran the test and 5 out of 6 of the samples confirmed that yes, there is bird flu in the country.
And you received these samples when?
We got them on Friday, 15th of May. And by afternoon, we have finished testing and then the results was given out.
Is it clear which farms the birds, like the 5 tested positive, came from? Is it clear or it's not clear?
In fact, we're told the samples were from 2 farms. But as for the distribution, we're not told. So I can't confirm whether we have 2, 4, 3. I'm not sure. But all I know is we received 6 samples from 2 farms. And out of this is 5 tested positive for bird flu.
And you mentioned that this tested positive for H5N1, which is different from H1N1. Can you explain that bit for us?
Yes, the bird flu, normally when we say bird flu, we are talking about the strain which is H5N1. It can also infect humans, but this comes from birds. The one we tested previously, that was the pandemic in 2009. From humans, that was H1N1. But this bird flu is H5N1. It's coming from birds, but can be transmitted to humans as well. Yes, we should be worried in the sense that if these are coming from 2 farms, we don't know what is happening elsewhere in the farms, more especially the handlers, those in the farms. So we need to test these people to make sure that the virus has not been transmitted to humans. Because if it passes from animal to humans, and then the transmission in turn becomes human to human, then becomes more worrisome. Let's to make sure that they are also not infected.
Is that what's going to happen next? Are you going to contact them and then get them their samples?
Yes, my boss will liaise with the veterinary services, and the decision will come from there. The best way to prevent further spreading is to kill all of them. There are biosecurity measures that has to be in place when we are dealing with these farms, especially animals that can be infected with this virus. Basic hygiene, making sure that you clean yourself, protect yourself when you are dealing with the animals, and then when you finish coming out, you disinfect yourself, making sure you don't use the same clothing that you use to handle the animals back home. So putting barriers between you and the humans and then the animals to ensure that even if they are infected, the handlers will not be infected as well.
Poultry farmers who suspect that their birds may have caught the flu, what should they do? Who should they contact, just for the avoidance of any doubts?
Yes, they should contact the veterinary officers if there are some around them. If not, they should look for the nearest one, then contact them. If they see signs that they are not familiar with, like the bird will stand here and then be falling asleep, or you find some lesions around the head, or maybe even the feet, or the bird will stand here and it becomes like fluffy, you need to report to the veterinary services so that they come and examine the birds and tell you what to do next, because you may not know whether these birds are infected or not. So samples can be taken and then the birds will be tested for the farmers to ensure that the birds are healthy and they themselves are also.
Right, so Dr. Kofi Odum is with the Department of Virology at the Noguchi Memorial Institute of Medical Research. So, Joseph, I want to find out from you, when you went out there, what were some of the striking issues which confronted you or which you met?
Well, the farmers are concerned about their poultry. They are concerned about their own health because they say they've gotten information that this disease could be transmissible from the poultry to humans as well. They're concerned about their business in general. Some of them spoke about the experience when there was the outbreak of the disease a few years ago. Some of them say that their farms had to be destroyed, they lost money, their businesses collapsed, people were no longer purchasing the poultry, and so as a result of that, they went out of business. And their prayer is that this doesn't happen again. But to quote one of them, for example, they say they are very much scared. And I've been speaking to one of them, Amir Yusuf.
Amir Yusuf, all right. So let's hear Amir Yusuf, who spoke to Joseph a while ago.
My name is Yusuf Amir. Yeah.
You have about 800 birds on this farm. Are there any measures you've been taking to prevent the outbreak of the disease on your farm?
Yes, please. I have been taking a lot of measures. I occasionally disinfect the whole pen and make sure nobody brings his birds here and nobody comes here unofficially without my permission. Yeah.
Have you gotten any kind of education at all on how to avoid any possible outbreak on your farm?
Yes, I have pre-knowledge of how to disinfect the pens and prevent such diseases from entering your farm. And moreover, the veterinary has been here to educate me more on how to prevent such things from happening. Yeah.
The fact that the Agric Ministry says there's been an outbreak here in Ghana, and they mention Achimota to be specific as one of the areas, does that strike any fear in you?
In fact, I'm unaware about the Achimota issue, but wow, now I'm very scared. Now I'm very scared. But anyway, I'll still take a lot of measures to stop it from entering my farm. It's not here yet. Yes, but I'll take a lot of measures not to allow it here. Yeah.
Are you concerned when the outbreak becomes even more extended, then it may end up affecting the kind of profits that you earn from this business of yours?
Yeah. I'm very scared actually, and because when you have your birds affected, nobody will want to patronize your birds anymore. People will go elsewhere to buy. In fact, when a disease like this enters into a country, a lot of people go off poultry, and in that case, a lot of poultry farmers are affected. So, in fact, I'm really scared. I'm really scared.
Is there any expectation you have of government in terms of helping safeguard your business?
Yes, government should really protect our borders. In fact, those people guarding our borders should be very, very vigilant and stop people who are importing in all those foreign birds. Because it wasn't in our country earlier, but it is, which means our borders are weak. So government should make stringent measures to stop the importation of such birds. Yeah.
Right, so Joseph, you spoke to this young man. What else do you have to report?
Well, we've also been getting some information from government sources with the work of the task force that I mentioned earlier, the Committee on Avian Influenza. The understanding we have is that they're putting together a lot of educational materials. They plan rolling out radio jingles to educate people about the disease and the preventive measures. They've printed out leaflets with which they'll be activating more of the educational campaigns so that then even beyond the farmers, the general public as well are well aware of the necessary measures that need to be taken so that this disease can be contained as much as possible.
All right, so what next? I mean, what you have been following this beat. What next? Government is going to clamp down and be strict on some of these measures, or what? What should we expect?
One of the things that we are told, for example, about the measures being taken has to do with the ban on the importation of foreign poultry. For example, from Burkina Faso, government announced that ban sometime early last month, late last month, about this particular ban.
So these will be enforced.
This, for example, we understand that the committee is ensuring that this will be enforced. It will be strengthened so that no bird finds its way from there into our side of the other side of the border, especially when an outbreak has actually been confirmed in Burkina Faso as well.
I see.
And we understand that they are strengthening surveillance. We are told that even today, officials from the Veterinary Services Department were out on the ground on some of the poultry farms here in Accra to check and cross-check and be sure that no birds in those areas are showing symptoms of the disease, so that then when they find it, then the necessary containment measures will be taken, including possibly destroying more birds.
Okay, I live in Achimota. Must I stop chewing my chicken?
Well, maybe for now, maybe not. The advice is that as much as possible, you know, the necessary hygienic measures should be put in place, so that then you don't fall prey. But well, especially when you know you're buying from a farm where
live birds,
you know what they have there, and you.
But if you're eating frozen, you know, from Amanoni, from abroad, uptown, you shouldn't worry.
Then maybe that becomes a problem. Right. But anyway, the local ones, once you are sure that the farm is good enough and that we don't have the outbreak there, then you don't have a problem. You can go ahead and consume your chicken.
Right. So thanks, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, and thanks to you all for making time with us on today's big story. So the caution is that do not be alarmed. I mean, this is under control. That's what government tells us. Achimota people and Tema people, don't be alarmed. My name is Stephen NTN. Up next is Joy News Interactive. Do stay.